evening, everyone. It is your girl, Marcy Thomas, coming to you live with another episode of the BGC Book Club. Now, normally I'm coming to you from the outskirts of Atlanta, but today I'm actually in the outskirts of Savannah, Georgia. Came to visit my mom, shouting my mama, "Hey, mama." I'm at her house and broadcasting live from here because I'm here with her celebrating her 80th birthday. So it's an extra special occasion. And for those of you who may have been around from the very beginning of BGC Book Club, I actually started in this space. It just looked a little different then. So welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. So excited to be with you again and to have a special guest back who has been with us before. Actually, she was in that opening video montage of authors. So I'm so excited to have her back. So please come on in the room and let us know where you're joining us from, if you don't mind, or if it's your first time here, if you've been here many times. But let's just come in and get ready to have a really great conversation about this outstanding new novel. So our special guest for the evening is Courtney Duke Foster, and we will be talking about her sophomore novel, Results May Vary. So I can't wait to get into it. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Courtney, she is a lawyer who was bitten by the writer bug almost a decade ago. She has written dozens of poems and short stories. Her short stories have been published in the Bay to Ocean Journal and The Fire Inside. In 2022, she published her debut novel, Passing Notes, which we had a chance to talk to her about when it came out. And actually, it was one of our top interviews of the year in the year that it came out. And of course, we're talking about her follow-up novel, Results Will Vary. So she is a graduate of Spelman College and Duke University School of Law, who grew up in Maryland, where she lives with her two incredible daughters. In her spare time, she enjoys writing stories, of course, but also watching movies and attending musicals and comedy shows. She enjoys the art of storytelling in all forms and loves writing stories that show the good, the bad, and the wondrous aspects of life and love with characters you wish you could hang out with. And this book is no different. So without any further delay, let's welcome Courtney Duke Foster back to BGC Book Club.
Hello.
Hello. Yes. I remember I told you I wasn't sure if your picture was in there, but it was.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Welcome back, Courtney. It's such an honor to have you come back again. And thank you for sharing your new book with us.
It's my pleasure. I'm glad you're having me back.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, we got some greetings from Paula, checking in from Illinois. Welcome, Paula. She is a regular. Stephanie saying, "Yay, Stephanie Shelton." So how does it feel this time, Courtney? Because I know the first time there's all the angst and all of that, because it's the first time and it's something new. But how is it feeling the second time around?
Oh, just a brand new ball of angst. It's just not, I don't think any less, just kind of different, because what you already know how to do is you're not really necessarily anxious about that. But then of course you're like, well, how is my second book going to be received? At least that's what I was feeling. And when I was doing publishing the first novel, Passing Notes, it was mostly during the pandemic. So it just felt like there was less time this time to kind of devote to making sure everything was running smoothly. And of course, there are setbacks and hiccups, and it just seemed to be a lot more this time around. But we made it to the finish line, and I'm grateful that I was able to at least publish it when I did, earlier this month. So I'm immensely grateful that I met that deadline. But yeah, it's just been there's never a dull moment. It's just you're nervous and you just want everyone to think your baby is pretty. Honestly, I mean, this is another book baby, so that's the feeling, really.
All right, yes, and it is a new baby, not even a month old yet.
Brand new baby.
Brand new baby. Brand new baby. So now, of course, many people are familiar with you from your from passing notes, and so this is like a continuation of the story because we're seeing
Mhm.
another generation of the family that was introduced to us in passing notes. So, was that something when you were writing passing notes? Did you think you were going to do like a continuation story, or is it something that just kind of came to you after you got the first book out into the world and you decided you wanted to dive in deeper?
Oh no, I wrote this book immediately after I
Okay.
finished passing notes. Part of it is because I can never really say completely fully goodbye to characters, so I want
Hmm.
to continue the story in some way. So I did. I was thinking throughout when I was writing passing notes, what happens after this? Like what,
Right.
once you have this secret. And for those who don't know, Passing Notes is about a woman in the 1950s, a young woman who is passing for white in New York City, mainly for her purposes for career opportunities and job advancement. But there were a lot of things that happened to her as a result of making that decision. And then you're like, well, what's the next side of that? What happens with the children and the grandchildren? And this results will vary is about her grandson. So that it's a contemporary novel. And then we see that Passing Notes is the inception of the family secret, and then the results will vary is the consequences of it, essentially.
Yes, and in reading, thank you for giving that synopsis of passing notes for those who have not had a chance to read it or may not remember because it's been a while. But it's just that it is something to think about whenever there is a secret within a family, within a community,
Mhm.
that it's not just for these people in this time. That if things are never brought to the forefront, or people are never really being honest or truthful about different decisions that were made, it is going to have an impact. And sometimes people don't think about that. I mean, people don't think about the impact from this week to next week,
Mhm.
let alone, a whole
Right.
generation from
Mhm.
now, what it's going to look like. So I love the fact that you did, think about that and take that, what was, a historical story, had a historical bent, and then now have turned it into something contemporary.
Yep. That's that was the fun part for me. I mean, it's like kind of
Mhm.
self-indulgent to kind of see where this secret led this family.
Mhm.
And Drew Simon is the main character. He's the
Mhm.
grandson, and he's a musician. He's a bit troubled. So his story is it starts it's independent of Passing Notes. I mean,
Yes.
it stands alone as its own story because he has his own struggles that are occurring because he's living life and he's his own human being, and then he gets on
Mhm.
this celebrity genealogy show because he is a rock star, and
Right.
that like it's like Finding Your Roots kind of show,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
he finds out about this family secret, and he has to figure out what that means for his identity as well as what impact it's going to have on his future.
Mhm. Well, with that being said, we're going to get into some of the themes of the story. So if you have not watched here before, we're not going to tell you the whole story because the point is for you to read the book, but just to give you an idea of some of the themes. But I wanted to ask, because in this book, the lead character is a male. Was there a particular reason why you wanted to focus in on a male character as the lead versus, say, maybe having it be a granddaughter?
Yeah. Well, I wrote it in 2018, so I have to go back to my younger self and figure out what
Okay.
what I was thinking. I think it was just I felt like just the kind of the way that I see men approach things,
Mhm.
it'd be an interesting story. Like um he's dealing with some mental health issues on top of just everything else, but just not just the approach, like a male approach and a view. I thought is it the relationship that he had with his mother was very interesting. I always think that boys, mothers and son relationships
Mhm.
are fascinating. I don't have any sons. I have daughters, but I had a brother, and seeing
Mhm.
my mom and some of my friends have sons, and it's just, it just felt like a challenge, I guess, first of all, and then it's a fun way to present this story from that perspective, because I think of women as just it would just unfold differently,
It definitely would.
if there was other women involved. There would be probably a lot more talking and less thinking, I think, so it just was a nice way to kind of ease into the topic and let him process it the way that I envision men would process something like
Mhm.
this.
Mhm. Yeah, and that did definitely make for an interesting story because, we are wired differently,
Right.
so just to think about how he would approach, mental health, or how he would approach, relationships with, both women in his life as well as, his father and things like that. We get to
Yeah.
see all of these things play out in the story. But, it's the story kind of, it starts out where there are some things that are happening that are kind of traumatic, and once again we're not going to tell it all, but so we find Drew, and it's Drew Simon, the lead protagonist. We find him dealing with already having some things going on, just from the past, and feelings about loss and all of those sorts of things, and then to have something happen immediately, so it's like it gets compounded.
Right. Yeah. And that's, kind of like the major conflict, I guess, that's a catalyst into what sends him into this kind of world of self discovery. Eventually, it takes him some time to get to that place. But, all of these losses and setbacks, so to speak, get him to a place where he's trying to get a comeback. He's looking for a second chance. And part of that is trying to figure out who he is. And that is the main reason why he went on the show, and also to connect with his mom, because he's lost his mom. That was already told, in the beginning of the story.
Right.
She was already gone when the story starts. But yeah, so that particular theme is important to his development.
And it's true, because one thing we know, that grief is a continuum just in general.
Hmm.
But when you can have like compounded things happening, it really does, make a big difference in how you manage. And sometimes, say you think well, you never get over it anyway when things happen. But
Right.
when things keep happening, how do you deal with that? But, he's also this great musician, and he's at a peak when things start out, and so we get to see what happens with that. So in making Drew, a musician versus making him a doctor, lawyer like himself, or something else, how exciting was it for you, or challenging was it for you to create a lead character who's a musician as well, because that's a whole nother lifestyle in and of itself.
Well, it was exciting because my inner rock star, rapper, whatever. I get to I get to explore that side of me with the song lyrics and performances that I have to detail. So it's exciting to just research that, because I play clarinet from like fourth to eighth
Okay.
grade. That's my that's my contribution to the musical landscape, and that
Okay.
in the eighth grade. But so I don't know how to write songs. When I start this book journey, I don't know anything about any of that. So I have to research kind of every detail. What's the anatomy of a pop song and a rap and things like that, so it can sound somewhat authentic, so people aren't like, oh, Courtney wrote this for sure. But that was just fun. I mean, it's challenging for sure, but it was just a lot of fun, and I had fun figuring out, what does the inside of a music studio look like. I need to
Mhm.
research that so I can write about that, and what I picked I read about different ones and I pick the one I like the best. And that's, what kind of you pattern those things after. So it was both exciting and challenging to kind of step into this world that I don't know a thing about before I started.
Yes, I love that. You have a couple comments. So you're a musician at heart, Courtney, as Amber is saying. And
Yeah.
the future in black. I love that name. Congrats, Courtney. What an amazing
Aw, thank
accomplishment.
you.
Yes. But yes, it is something to think because, a lot of us think, we were talking before we came on, that if you watch Insecure, you think I'm like Issa D, I can get up, I can rap in the mirror, I can do all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
I'm MC Light,
Mhm.
MC Marcy T, that's me, whatever the case may be. But in you writing this, yeah, I rhyme right there. But
Yes, you did.
in you writing this book, it gave you an opportunity to kind of think if you were, to take, well, we're not going to give too much of away of what it was, but if you are to like have music around you and be able to like write a rap lyric or to be in your emotions or your feelings and to write a song that kind of shows what that is, I think that was pretty good. And because the songs did feel like real songs, Courtney. So
Oh, thank you. That's the best compliment that I can get. But I also wanted them to be part of the story.
yeah.
So the lyrics and what the songs and were about tells you a story as well that is related to this novel. So I think that was another challenge, like not just writing the song, but have it be relevant to what it is that we're talking about at this point in the story too. So that was fun as well because
Mhm.
it's just a different way to tell the story. You either writing a poem or you're writing a song or you're writing a novel. You're telling a story. So that.
Yes. And I love that in the book you do also have like a playlist and songs and things like that motivated you and all of that because really music does tell stories. Because you can hear a song and it can take you back to something, many years ago or, envision something that could be in your life, whether, music does it, art does it. There's so many different forms
Mhm.
of creativity that help us to tell stories. So I loved having you include that element because you do write poetry as well. So it makes sense. But as I said, the songs were really good in that. So one of the other things that we really see in this book is, of course, there's the grief for different things that happen, but it's also the people who are still in the here and now and how their relationships are fractured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because grief can do a number on more than just the individual that's experiencing it. So, and Drew has to figure out how to navigate and reconnect with his family, with his children, with his wife, his friends, his colleagues, after suffering such a catastrophic loss. He has to get back from that. And like I said before, it takes some time, but it also kind of gives you a depiction of what it's like for people to really just be rooting for you and to be in your corner because he didn't have to lose anyone in that respect.
Mhm.
Everyone was well, not everyone, but a lot of his family were suffering along with him. But just we're in this with you, just trying to convince him that we're here. We are too suffering with you. So open up already, stuff like that.
Right.
Um,
Right. And it brings home the fact that, we're not an island unto ourselves, even sometimes when we want to be.
right, right.
You
And
know.
that's another part that he experienced. Like you might just want to withdraw and go away, but those people are still there waiting for you, hopefully. But this was supposed to be a happy story, so we have that that
Mhm.
support network still waiting for him. But you have to figure out how to access that. Like
Right.
how do you invite people into the chaos that you are experiencing, especially if you love them. You
Mhm.
don't want them to be sad along with you. You don't want to cause them to, bring them down. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's a tough thing. And it's tough for everyone who has been through even a little bit of that.
Right, right. And one thing with Drew, what I love about him and the people who are around him is like he has all these different communities because there's his blood family, and then there's his chosen family, his music family, even his work family, so to speak.
Right.
And I like that in the book because each relationship that you have with people, they're different based upon, how they enter into your life. But then oftentimes there is this great intersection where people do become more like, it might start out as a work friend or, in his case, a musician friend, but they become like family.
Mm-hmm. And that's another aspect that was interesting to write, because I have amazing friends, girlfriends that are like sisters to me, but writing it like that brotherhood
Mm-hmm.
from that perspective was different. And I don't think that it's really that different. They may express themselves differently, but the connections are deep and they are long lasting. And I think that leaning into what I already know about strong friendships and support networks was helpful in developing those relationships as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the brotherhood. I love it. 'Cause, we see it because, well, I know there's at least one man in the room. A lot of times when you see men, they get together, they act like little boys.
Yeah, sometimes,
Just
yeah.
the way they tease each other and rag
Mhm.
on each other and stuff like that. And we do get to see some of that play out in the way they're interacting. So I
Mhm.
know you have daughters, but you said you have brothers and like other male relatives that you've kind of observed with that type of behavior.
I have I had a brother, so he was blessed with a little sister.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away, but he had a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to see kind of how they interacted with each other as I was growing up, and it may have been annoying as I was growing up, but
Mm-hmm.
it's something, I'm glad that he had, close friends, that he could be himself with.
Mm-hmm.
And the same that I had for myself with my girlfriend. So it's it's just fun to write about how they mess around with each other, teach each
Mhm.
other.
Yeah, yeah, and it's true. I don't have. Well, I'm an only child, but I've worked in situations where I'm surrounded by men. So yeah, it's true. That's how they act, and they gossip just as much or more than women do. But yeah, that's a
Right, right. In your way.
yeah. They don't want you to know that, but they do.
Mhm.
But yes, it was just good to be able to see that. And also, Drew has a family. He is a father of three. He is a husband. He is a husband, at a point in the story. So we get to even see that as well, how the things that are happening in his life impact what's happening in those relationships. How is he interacting with his children? How is he interacting with his partner?
Mm-hmm. Right. And teenage years can be difficult for children and parents. So you
Mm-hmm.
get to see um you get to see his oldest son as a little boy, and then you see him as a 16-year-old, and you can see through that relationship what impact what Drew was going on, was going on with Drew had on his family through, you know, where his relationship with his son ended up um, in the middle of the book when you meet them.
Right.
So it's just that was interesting to write too, because I have teenagers too. So it's like, that things can get a little hairy when they're going through their teenage years, and then if you add on a um, I don't want to give any spoilers, but
And no spoilers.
something that's going on with their parents'
Right.
relationship. and
Mhm.
what does that have? What impact does that have on each child's individual relationship with
Mhm.
each
It's
parent?
true.
That's important as well. It's
Mhm.
all coming together to make the climb that Drew has to make out of this kind of spiraling down. How far he has to go up to get everybody on an even kill.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. So we definitely see that, and we also see someone. Well, actually, not just him, but you have to read the story. Many people getting second chances.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing as well, because in life oftentimes things happen, and maybe you're 21, 22, 23, whatever, you're young and hot and popping and whatever it is you're doing,
Yeah.
and then things happen and maybe you're not so much, but it doesn't mean you still don't have that same talent, you don't still have that drive, desire, that's the same skill, and oftentimes it gets better as you mature. So I love the fact that we also get to see that in this story, that people who may have, we always hear about the quote unquote has been or once was, but we get to see second chances as well.
Yeah, that's like a whole, like you were saying, he has different groups that he's connected to, right? So there's a group of musicians that are also kind of in the same boat as him. And, just opening up and seeing that it's not just him that is trying to stay relevant or reclaim some success, but they all are in that same boat and they can help each other
Mm,
to get back on track, so to speak. For whatever reason, they may be considered a has been, at this particular point in their lives, but that doesn't have to be the end of your story. And that's true within his career. That's themes that permeate like his familial relationships as
mhm,
well. There's just opportunities always to do better
mhm,
and to get back, get what you've always wanted kind of out of certain relationships, and to be the person that you wanted to be in other
mhm,
relationships.
mhm. Yes, and I like the fact that in these people, we've already know they're musicians. I
Mhm.
also like the fact that you have them crossing genres and things like that. I think that's pretty neat, because oftentimes people are put in a box and think, oh, you can only do this or you can only do that. So I thought that was, powerful as well, to see that people, they can come together and maybe be coming from different places or spaces and still come together and be able to create something beautiful. And I like that as well. So I'm going to assume that you like different types of music, which is what made you go in that direction versus, say, having them all be hip hop or all pop or all whatever.
Yeah, I love my iTunes is all over the place. So I have
Mhm.
DMX or tunes and musicals and rock music. It just, I can pick whatever mood I'm in, and there's something that I can listen to. But then being part of different social media groups, there might be a question in my HBCU group, like what rock music has your head bopping, to this day. If you
Mhm.
hear it, you're going to be banging your head, and people, oh, Bohemian Rhapsody or
Right.
something from Bon Jovi or
Mhm.
Aerosmith or whatever. And these are, you know, very, very much, Black people, Gen X, Gen Z, Gen whoever, all can experience and love all types of music. Um,
Right.
and then, the excitement that there were hundreds of responses to that. Like, I want to share with you what I enjoy, what other
Mhm.
types of music I enjoy, and people liking that because they like that song or that band or that group as well. So I just didn't think, because of the theme of the book, this is just basically saying that you don't let other people put you in a box
Right.
and define who you are. You get to do that for yourself, but you got to know. It's always better to know. That's how you can put the pieces together if you have all of those puzzle pieces. But yeah, so don't. I think one of the lines from character EJ was that the genres and the subgenres, that's for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's for the public. We're musicians, and we we're good musicians. We can play anything. We enjoy music. We enjoy sharing music. We're all playing the same 12 notes,
That's right. That's right.
so yeah, so that was important to bring that all together. And I just thought it was interesting too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's something you necessarily see every day.
You do not. You do not. And in thinking about that and reading through it, I couldn't help but think about Beyonce, for example.
Right.
That yeah, she's like
Right.
like when people say this is your country album, she's like it's a Beyonce album. So in other words, Beyonce contains multitudes. And no, I am not part of Beehive, but I'm just saying, I can give credit where it's due. But
I think
yes,
I
it's
think I'm
like
I'm
a
in the
musician is a
beehive.
musician. You say
Right.
you are in the Beehive?
I mean, I'm not like the president or anything, but I definitely am waiting for it. I think we're supposed to get an announcement on social
Yes, it got
media.
delayed due to
Get
the
that.
fires. And, if anyone
Right.
is impacted by those fires, we send our love out to you and pray that, there can be resolution coming sooner than later. But yes, I think that's why she delayed it. But I mean, but she's just someone that shows you
Right.
that you can do a lot of things. And you know what? Thinking of somebody, and then we can move on from that. But another person that has done that is Queen Latifah. Because think
Oh
of how she's done jazz, she's done, the, Hollywood blockbuster musical type stuff, but she started out as, a rapper.
yeah.
So
Right.
contain multitudes.
Mm-hmm.
So but I love being, because I'm a music person as well. So I love being able to see that in there and seeing the different people. But another thing, of course, that's kind of like the background of who he is. And we spend a lot of time in the story learning about him, meeting his friends, meeting his family, seeing the conflicts, with his father, because that's a big factor as well, and his relationship with his father. Talk a little bit about that before I go on to my next question, just about having him have a dad and kind of have a not so good relationship with his father.
I mean, I think you can say they have a terrible relationship in the beginning of the book, for particularly, and you learn why. But some of those things come about throughout the story, but yeah, they are so they're very different. Your father's a ex-military and ex-police officer, was very strict and very very, very strict. I will just leave
Right.
it at that.
Yeah.
And Drew considers himself, creative and an artist, and they just clashed over a lot of things, just in general philosophies and politically, as he became an adult. So you have that, kind of idea of like, how do you love someone that is so different and
Right.
so harsh, with you? Or do you? Like, is that even a possibility?
Mhm.
Um, and I think, when we, get further in, we see what kind of experiences the father had that may have informed his parenting style. And then,
Mhm.
but I think at the end of the day, you can kind of find common ground, but it is work, and you have to be willing to put in that work to do that. So if as long as both sides are amenable to that,
Mhm.
then I think there's a chance, and that's what you kind of see in this story. But it is, and that's kind of one of the little, the title is results will vary,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people experience this, but they're not necessarily going to have these end results. Everybody it'll turn out how it's going to turn out for you, and based on your experience with your particular loved one or trying to love one. Yeah, I'm trying.
Right, trying to love one is key.
Yeah.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up because I was going to ask about the title, but yes, results will vary. So
Right.
yes, it is true. Depending on, because oftentimes you'll hear things. Let's say if you have a relationship with someone that's fraught, and someone might say, oh, go to that person and try to talk to them or write them a letter or da 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 da, and it's like, it depends on where they are.
Yeah.
How that's going to turn out.
Right.
When you attempt to do that.
Yeah, and we see a lot of attempts, and they don't work out initially favorably, but once everybody decides that that is the goal, is to repair and to build instead of kind of destroy, then you have a great chance. But
Yes.
not without that, not without everybody being on board.
Not without everybody being on board. That's key. There's a question. I'm always interested in an author's process. Do you know who and where your characters are going? Do you already know the ending and right to get there? Several questions all in one. Do you work from outline? Do they lead you?
Okay. So it depends on the story. Sometimes, like Passing Notes, I knew the ending and I worked to the beginning from the ending. So that's how that kind of came to me. For this one, I did not know how, when I started, and I don't, outlines for me, I have found I've tried to do better with it, but they kind of tank my motivation because I was writing an outline and I'm like, okay, well, I'm done with the story, so I don't need to write any more.
Okay.
So I do better if I'm taking it, kind of one step at a time. I have an idea. I mean, once I've started writing, I have thought about this story and these characters, but for this one, I did not know how it was going to end. So there's a little bit of a surprise ending that was surprising to me.
Okay.
I was, getting there, and I was like, well, how do I want this to unfold for him? And then it came, and then it comes, and you write it out, and they're like, oh yeah, that feels right for this story. Yeah.
I love that. Because I tell you, when I was reading, and I was down to probably about the last 7 or 8 pages, and it was like I was trying to. I can only read but so fast. It was just like, okay, so because I was just trying to figure out like what's gonna happen. There's something that's happening at the end of the story, and I'm like, okay, is it this person? Is it that person? Is it this? Is it that? And I'm like, okay, let me keep, because I'm thinking it's. But it could be wrong because authors are known to have us thinking one thing and it turns out something else. So yes, I can imagine.
So I think, and it's been some years, but I think that I knew that I wanted that thing to happen.
Gotcha.
But I didn't know who.
Okay.
Did when I
started. And that's where I was like, who's it going to be? Is it going to be this?
Maybe that's a good thing as to why you didn't even know, because I didn't know myself.
Right.
So that that was fun. I was like, oh, and then when it comes, you're just like, oh, that feels like home. Like we've arrived. We've arrived at the ending for that. But I don't know if I answered all of the questions.
I'm gonna go back to them real quick. I think we did. Let me just make sure. It was where your characters are going, the ending, do you work from outline, do they lead you? Yeah, we answered them. We got them all. So that was good. So I want to get into the thing that leads us to the secret that we didn't know initially. I like that it's like patterned after Henry Louis Gates having this whole opportunity to go on this genealogy show, because that is a big thing, and we've seen it with others, and I mean even within our own lives sometimes we have done those tests and things like that, and you can oftentimes find out things that you weren't expecting. So that was a really interesting part of the story. And was that fun to kind of write or navigate what that would look like for someone who is pursuing their genealogy in that way?
Oh yeah, because that's, Finding Your Roots is my favorite, one of my favorite shows, and I love just how you can tell from the story that
Mhm.
it's pretty much patterned after that. But there was also a show I think called on NBC some years ago called "Who Do You Think You Are," which was very similar. They took a
Mhm.
celebrity, and but on PBS, it's just the setup it's just a little. It feels a little bit more intimate with Dr. Gates. So
Mhm.
I love that show and that and Dateline, but I love
Okay.
but I love the way that they take you on this little journey kind of backwards
Mhm.
in time for this person and their family, but then you get some history of what was actually happening at the time. So it puts kind of the decisions that the person may have made into context.
Mhm.
um, if you didn't know what the history was, or if you didn't know what was going on in particular in that particular region, and it'll, they're international, so you might get stories about the potato famine in Ireland, depending on who the
Mhm.
guest is. So it's just, if you love history, if you love being all up in other people's business and stuff, that's
Right.
perfect. Those are perfect show for you.
Right.
So
Right.
and that's me in a nutshell right there. I just want to know, it's like the best reality show, but then it's like the past as well.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So have you personally gone through a genealogy process or no?
Well, I did the like 23andMe.
Mhm.
So I was able to get those results. That was also a really long time ago that I did that.
Mhm.
My parents did it, but they did ancestry.com. So it was really kind of interesting, like doing the math for how their DNA profile came out versus mine. And then if you do the math,
Mm.
the percentages work out. So, what the percentages of sub-Saharan African and European blood and a little tiny drop of Native American or whatever. But, it's just really fascinating to do that. And my dad really likes to delve into like the family history, and trace the family trees and look at old census documents and stuff. So that's why,
Mhm.
the ancestry.com route was best for him, because it does connect you with
Right.
all of those things better than 23andMe did. And then, he met a cousin, and I recently spoke to him. So he was like a distant cousin. So like our,
Mhm.
um, I'm gonna say great grandfathers or something like that um, were brothers.
Mhm.
And my our families were enslaved in Northern Virginia, and then
Mm.
the plantation and emancipation, and then they walk north. And my family, I say that's perfect because mine settled in DC. I am part of the people that said this is far enough. We're not walking
Okay.
any further than this.
Right.
And then his family is from Philadelphia, and then family that went to New York and things like that. So it's all so interesting in the technology that we have today that allows us just easily be able to um, learn all of those things about our ancestors and see like actual documents where they
Mhm.
have written their names, even,
Mhm.
and where they've come from. And then there's one, I haven't looked at it again, but one of the siblings from that line was met with William Still in Philadelphia,
Mm.
with and recounted, what his life as a slave was like. So all of that, and I'm glad that, the people in our family who are interested in that are sharing that with the rest of us as well.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that a little bit about yourself. But we all, we see that in the character of Drew and another character as well, EJ, that we get to see, them go through this process of discovery and finding out, who their people are. And just the fact that, there is maybe a little apprehension along the way, and excitement. We see that in the character,
Yeah.
because there is a thing that when you don't know and finding out is like, are you going to find out something that is going to be, bad, or, is it going to be something good, or whatever the case may be. So
Or
I love seeing,
embarrassing.
or embarrassing, right? Because these are people who are well known, and this is done in such a way where the whole world is going to
Mhm.
know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they do find out some things that um, that cause them to kind of, it was very heavy,
Yeah.
some of the things that they find out about their family history and processing just that individual, that information. For
Mm-hmm.
Drew in particular, finding out what the Black side of his family has, been through and going through, and had to think about these things in ways that he had never been forced to think about
Right.
in his entire life. I mean, this is happening when he's almost 40 years old. So
Mm-hmm.
he has lived thinking, this one thing and having this one perspective. And then it's, completely broadened and kind of changed. And that's it, it's a good thing. Like I said, it's always better to know because it helps him figure out who he is. But
Mm-hmm.
um, these things can kind of leave you, not feeling so great. These deep dives into your family history. You
Right.
don't know what you're going to find, and
Yeah.
it could be something that weighs heavily on you, and you have to figure out, what you're going to do with that
Right.
information. Hmm.
Right. And it also brings up, just identity, because when, you have an identity in one way and then you find out certain things, does it change who you are? Does it not change who you are? We're not going to tell you what happens because you got to read the book to find out. But, it is those sorts of things that, that finding out that history could potentially do.
Right. Yep.
Hmm. So Amber is asking, okay, so when the movie comes out, which actor would you like to play Drew? Now, this is kind of a depiction of what he looks like on the book cover. You see him, dark curly hair. He's all tatted up.
No, I think we have to get someone we don't know yet to
And I know.
play Drew.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I had some ideas for the first book, but I didn't really think about who's going to play these people in the movie for this one. That's another
Mm-hmm.
thing I can work on and develop because that's fun to think about.
Yes, like
Do
to do
you think of
a dream vision board or a
yeah,
Pinterest board.
do you think of anyone? Can you think of anyone that we know of now that could play Drew?
Me? Yeah, that's kind of a challenge. I
Yeah.
can't think of anybody
Yeah.
that, because he's got, describe him for those who haven't read it yet. And they
He's got, well, look from the cover for sure, but he's got wild curly
dark
hair
curly hair,
and he's got blue eyes.
blue eyes.
He's
Mm-hmm.
tall,
Mm-hmm.
slim build, and of
Mm-hmm.
course he's got all those tattoos all up and down his
Mm-hmm.
arms that his father doesn't like
Mm-hmm.
so much. But
Right. And
yeah,
I mean, he's how can I put it? He got like an Italian kind of, he's got
yeah,
he's got
maybe a
some
little
tint.
bit of an olive complexion.
Olive complexion. Yeah, he's not. Yeah. So yeah, I can't really think of anybody right now.
Hmm.
Also, and Lisa
I have
Hall
to,
is saying hello, but yes, I don't know. So I guess we'll figure it out. Or like you said, there's always someone out there who's looking to break into the business that we'll do the casting call and we'll figure out who that person would be, because yeah, it is kind of a challenge. He has a very distinctive look and appearance and all
hmm
of that. But one thing I do like, back to the music for a minute, that you consider blue-eyed soul. So he's got the blue eyes and
Right.
he's soulful, so I love it.
Mhm.
So I know in the book, his mother described his voice as all the Michaels rolled up into one. Michael McDonald, what was it? Michael Bolton with a little bit of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, yeah. When she first realized he could sing the way he could
Hmm.
sing. So yeah, so that's another fun thing to figure out. What do they sound like, and how do you
Right.
describe that? When you're reading a book, you can't hear the music, so you kind of have to relate it to something people are familiar with. So with
Mm,
that, but then there's also describing. There was a part where they sing a popular song, and I can't use the lyrics because I don't have
right.
authority or they're copyrighted. So I have to describe what is happening, and it's
Hmm.
like you just draw on all the concerts you've been to and the videos you've seen. What am I seeing happening? So I
Right.
have to put that on the page so that the reader can experience what I see in my head and what I hear in my ear,
Hmm.
in my mind's ear.
Hmm. And you did a good job because as I was reading, because you name what the song is, and even though you couldn't use the lyrics, I could hear it because I know the song, that sort of
Mhm.
thing. So, but it's in the way that it's written that I could like visualize myself
Mhm.
being in that space and really experiencing what's going on. So that's a gift to be able to do that though, because as I said, if it's just words, it's just words. But when you're thinking of music and trying to visualize or hear that music as you're reading, that is a gift. So you did a good job on that. Like your friend said, great job, Courtney Duke Foster. Lisa says you did do a good job with that because that's
Thank you.
that's not easy. That's not
Mhm.
easy. So, of course, the book is new in the world, not even a month old. And so, a lot of people may not have had a chance to read it yet. But when people do go ahead and pick it up, okay, that's got to be a family member. You
It's
are amazing.
That's my mom.
Hey, mama. Hey, mama. I love it. My mom's in the other room. She better tell me that when we get done. But
Yeah, I do.
you are
Mhm.
amazing.
You are amazing.
You will never see a comment from my mother in the box. But yes, that's so sweet that she would do that. But as people start reading the book and like really diving into results will vary, what is it that you want people to really take away from the story?
Um, Yes, I touched on it before, but I think at the end of the day, that it's always better to know. Like if you're afraid of what you might encounter if you're doing this research, or there's a hint that there might be a family secret, that it really is important to know so that you can know yourself. I mean, and I think that kind of come what may. I mean, I know that it could be, um, it might not be a positive outcome for everybody, or or it might not be what you wanted it to be, but
Mhm.
at least you won't be in the dark about
Mhm.
who you are, where you've come from, and it can open doors that you didn't know that were even closed. It's just I just think knowledge is it's cliche, but knowledge is power,
It is.
and it is only something that can make you stronger.
Mhm.
Because in this particular case, you have like a whole family situation that he didn't know he had, but that he always wanted,
Right.
and that's a good thing. I
That
think
is
we
a
can
good
always,
thing. That is a great thing.
yeah.
And also for me in reading the story, I like that there's healing within it
Hmm. Yeah.
because we see someone who has gone through a lot of things that sometimes it's hard for people to bounce back from.
Hmm.
And sometimes a person can remain in that place and space of trauma, and even though they go on with life,
Hmm.
they're still kind of stuck in that place and space of trauma. but to
Right.
be able to experience a sort of healing in the relationships around you, and and all of those sorts of things. I love seeing that from where he was at the beginning, and kind of in the
Mhm.
first part and in the middle, but then to see as the story went on how Drew really learned how to heal, and how that healed a lot of people around him without us telling too much about the story.
Yeah, that's what I was going to hint at too. It really, you see that this knowledge that he gained for himself was important for other people, even if it wasn't directly related to them. It helped heal, like, kind of the whole family picture, so to speak, because they had the whole picture, you know,
Hmm. I
to
love it.
to to rely on. Yeah.
Hmm. You did your good work, Miss Courtney. So congratulations
Thank you.
again. So with your new book, baby, are there any places or spaces that you're going to be in the weeks and months ahead where people can maybe meet you or come get book signed or whatever the case may be?
Well, I'm in Maryland, Prince George's County, and so I am doing a Black Business Expo at Bishop McNamara on February 22nd. In July, there is a Right Women's called the Right Women's Book Fest, and that's
Mhm.
in Bowie, Maryland. And I'm always open to and have certain other book clubs that are scheduled. But you can go to my website, which is right there, CourtneyDukeFoster.com, and I will be updating that to show um, as more events and appearances come in. I hate to like appearances. That's weird, but yes, where I'm going to be at.
Yes, she's gonna show up.
Where
She's
I'm going
gonna
to
be
be
on an award tour, like we
at.
used to say that. Who was that award tour? They see my jam. It's not coming to me right now. The rap group, but yeah, she's gonna be on award tour. You know who I'm talking about? Tribe Called Quest.
Oh,
She's going on award tour,
yes.
an award winning tour. So yes, we have another comment. You're amazing for me, mom in Arizona. Okay.
Oh, hey, hi, Denise.
So
Thank
I
you.
was loving it. And Courtney's people always show up for her as well. So I love that. As I mentioned at the top of the hour, if you weren't here when I introduced her, passing notes was like at the end of the year, we do this recap of like the best interviews and all that stuff of the year. And Courtney won. She was like, because I know it was other viewers as well, but I also know her people showed up for her. So but yes, but that's wonderful because if you Google her, that interview still shows up. So, it has done its job, and, helps people to learn more about Courtney and the work that she's doing, both with passing notes and, of course, now with results will vary. So thank you to everyone for being here. And Courtney, thank you again. I look forward to the next time because I know you've got some other things you're working on.
Yep, there's an excerpt in the back of the book for
Yes.
for my next novel thing I'm going to do.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So yes, everyone, please go ahead and grab this one and get ready to really enjoy this wonderful story and then be prepared for the next one to come. So Courtney, I'm just gonna say goodnight to everybody all at once because since you don't hang up though, but because I am not in my normal space, I don't have the book to show you for next week, but just know that we're gonna have another great author with us next week and be on the lookout for that. I will probably put the announcement up sometime tomorrow evening if you're watching this in real time. So in the meantime, in between time, please go and get your copy of Results Will Vary and be on the lookout for more wonderful things from Courtney Duke Foster. So everybody, you all have a wonderful evening, morning, or afternoon, depending on when you're watching. And we'll look to see you again here real soon. Take good care.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Marcy.
Bye. One second, y'all.